Welcome to The Wrecking Trade, the radio show that provides a platform for a deeper understanding of issues affecting men in the Cayman Islands. Join us as we explore the low enrollment of men and boys in college classrooms, the absence of men in the church, and the absence of fathers in the home. Join the conversation as we help men find their place in the modern world. Through engaging interviews with experts and members of the community, we provide a clear picture of what healthy masculinity looks like as an example for boys and girls. Our mission is to provide a voice for men, to help them navigate the challenges that they face and provide hope for a brighter future. So tune in and join the conversation on The Wrecking Trade. Together, we can make a difference in the lives of men and boys in the Cayman Islands. Welcome to The Wrecking Trade, the radio show that provides a platform for a deeper understanding of issues affecting men in the Cayman Islands. Welcome to Flashpoint Media, and a big welcome to The Wrecking Trade. I'm your host, Robert Lynch. On this program, we dive into the world of masculinity, male accountability, and responsibility. But before we jump into today's discussion, do me a huge solid. Hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and let's aim for 5,000 subscribers. And if this content resonates with you, give that like button some love. It's not just a thumbs up. It is how we tell YouTube that the things that we talk about here matters. And with that, let's jump into today's show. It is going to be off the chain. We have a full studio. And you know what? Let me just start and allow our guests to introduce themselves. And it's 5 questions that we usually start the show with. That is your name, your age, your relationship status, highest education level completed, and what do you do for work? All right? So let's start right here.
All right. Thank you so much for inviting me. First of all, my name is Carol Hernandez. I'm from Costa Rica. I'm 34 years old.
Relationship status?
I'm single. And
highest education level
mingling.
completed?
No, I'm just kidding. What else you say?
Highest education level completed?
Journalism. Yeah, I studied journalism.
Masters, associates, bachelors?
Bachelors, yes.
Okay.
And
what do you do for work?
I work, I do 2 things now. I work as a receptionist at Island Vet, and I'm a singer. I'm the lead singer for the mariachi in the island. Yes.
Interesting dynamics. We're going to jump into that, dig into that a little bit deeper. Just let's go to the next person.
You have to help me with the questions again.
So your name
is Rahima Robinson.
Age?
16 plus shipping and handling.
Yeah.
Next.
Relationship status?
I am single.
Single. 2 single women on the panel this evening. Highest education level completed?
I am working on my master's currently.
Working on your master's currently. And what do you do for work?
I'm a probation officer, senior probation officer.
Probation
at the
officer.
here on Cayman Islands.
And you're single, so all the men are on probation?
Ooh, not just men, we have women too.
You have women on probation
yes,
too?
we do.
I was talking about you being particularly single, so I'm not sure what you just said. If you want to agree with that or you want to roll that back.
Well, you see, when you are in the pool, you have to be careful which pools you delve into.
Yes.
So I wouldn't even go there because it would be a conflict of interest.
Gotcha.
Like
so
that.
just the men are on probation in your pool?
On probation or serving a sentence in the prison.
Okay.
All right. The name given is Marquino Ferron. I am no stranger to this space.
Yes.
I'm the resident pastor for this space, Flashpoint Media. And of course, I'm a good friend to Dr. Robert Lynch of The Wrecking Trade. I am an educator as well, and I'm currently working on my postgraduate studies in education.
Okay.
And I do have ambitions to go for the PhD. Permanently damaged one day.
And I guess you're also working on your relationship status?
I am single.
Okay.
I'm single.
All right. So we have a single panel. We have 2 single women and a pastor. All right.
And a single pastor.
And a single pastor at that, right? Mm-hmm. And so today we're going to jump into a program, and I found this video when I was looking through TikTok, and it was interesting to me because this lady was trying to share with us why she left her husband. She started out by telling us that he's a wonderful man, but she left him anyway. So, Mr. Producer, Mikey G, on the controls, can we run that video? Run that clip.
10 years. I got married young. I was 21, barely, like 3 days, 21. Already had a baby. He was 8 weeks old at our wedding. And I remember feeling like my marriage was temporary from the beginning, like that I wasn't gonna make it, and I didn't know what that feeling was. I just thought it was.
So let me get this straight. She was married for 10 years, strung this man along for 10 years, had children with this man, and knew from the beginning that she didn't want to marry him. Marriage is forever, and it's not temporary, and age is not an excuse in my opinion, but there's more to the story. So
Let's just hold it right there.
Fighting for me.
Right. So here she's saying she got married, but she felt like it was temporary. So both of you are single, so I'm sure that I'm sure that you've been in relationships before. How do you know when something is temporary versus it is something that you're wanting to get into for the long haul?
Wow, I don't think you should start any relationship thinking it's gonna be temporary. Like, it will make no sense. I mean, if you want to hook up, that will be temporary. That's your main goal, yes. But otherwise, I just think that's just setting everything up for failure. Right now, if the woman is maybe looking for money, maybe thinks that somehow can like set it up in a way that can be for a while. Until she can make something happen. The problem here is that she actually like stayed married for 10 years and had kids, so maybe she just, in the head.
Well, the term seems like an oxymoron, or her explanation sounds really messed up, because she's saying marriage and temporary in the same sentence. Doesn't quite relate. As a Christian, the two are mutually exclusive. Till death do us part. So if it is marriage, then the temporary thing is a question mark. So if you're going temporary, then it's not marriage.
Well, I don't think the first points made by our beautiful women here on the panel tonight need buttressing, but I would look at it from the angle that that is really a messed up situation, not just for the man but for the kids. When you can tug along somebody for 10 years, that's really called for self-introspection. Why could I tug along your husband and your kids? That's really duplicitous, and it's really sad.
Interesting. And it's interesting because we have the idea, we understand now that 80%, I'll start with the most modest of numbers, 70% of divorces are filed for by women. When the education level goes up, that number raises to, depending on which surveys you're looking at, between 80% to 90%, right? And so here we get a chance to explore the reasons behind that. And I guess it starts for you ladies, as single ladies. Why do women leave? What are the thoughts? What are the things that may signal to you from a man, or give you the ick, as they call it, or tell you, you wanted to go the long haul with him, but this doesn't look like it's going to work out. He's not giving you those signals. What are your signals?
But you know what it is? I think if people are not healed, if people are not ready to understand that they have to work on themselves first in order to start any type of relationship, I think all the signs get messed up. Right? So you start giving these signs that maybe you're not even that person. Maybe you don't even like that, but you become this person when you like someone. Because, it's like it's the way you've been raised, or it's what you have done your whole life, and nobody has ever corrected you because you haven't maybe find someone that loves you and take the time to tell you, no, sit down, we need to talk, this is messed up. So I think it's about healing, about maybe this girl, when she got married, she had all this stuff going on in her life, and she thought maybe this guy was gonna save her somehow, and then she thought, it's just that part that I think you have to be healed in order to start a relationship. That's it.
Fair enough.
Well, first off, I'm not sure where your stats are from.
Yes.
But in Jamaica, I also worked in the family courts.
Yes.
And what I found was more the males who were going for divorce at the time, because I've been here a while. And their reasons were varied. It could be anything from something money related to in-law related. But I know you want to focus on the female side of it. So your question really was, what do we think? Because we don't know. Right? We've never been there. We don't know. What I would say is that what I've found is that many persons enter the relationship space as frauds. So they know what they have in mind, but they don't say that. They pretend, they waste time, whatever they're doing, but it's not a genuine space. So what I have found in my experience is that persons enter the dating space with some skewed version of what it should be, and that is not presented up front. Primarily for me, knowing what it is if you're not saying God from day one, bye. Because then it lends itself to what are you doing? And if you're not moving in a particular direction, then,
What are you doing?
So I guess it prevents leading up to 10 years, 3 years, whatever the number is, and then saying, oh, hey, change my mind. When truth is, you didn't really change your mind because from the beginning, you had temporary at the forefront of your mind. So I think if people are genuine about entering the space, then it becomes a different conversation. What are you looking for? Do I have those things? Do you have those things? And then make the hard decisions. Buy or let's do this, right?
So set your standards from the start. And just to answer your question right off the bat, so the U.S. statistics run about 80%. The actual statistics here in the Cayman Islands, they lean more towards 90% because against, you'll find that relationships have a little bit different dynamics here in the Cayman Islands.
Very different.
I mean, you have a lot more women here who are educated and higher earners, and so those are usually indicators of more willingness
what
to
I would
exit
say about
marriages as
those
well.
here, because
Yes.
my relationship with those statistics here are on the other side now, it's more related to how do these affect offenders. And when you look at those stories that lead up to offending and surroundings offending, what we find is that it's not even about money or education. It's about the social construct,
Yes.
having to do with status, having to do with who belongs and who doesn't belong. That's a very different, delicate conversation that I don't think is what we're talking about this evening. Related but not the same. So I don't think it's education. I think it's more about who gets to have the power, who gets to have the authority, who gets to have the final say. Do we want to talk about that tonight? That's a whole different conversation.
So specifically for what I'm talking about, the numbers do actually talk about education. So as women go higher in education, and there's another statistic too, when a woman earns more than 40% of her counterpart, then that actually increases the likelihood of divorce. So that means financial numbers and education numbers. But with that, I noticed you wanted to say something, so I'm gonna come back here because here we're not talking about, what we're really talking about is relationships and relationship dynamics and how those impact, as we recognize in this clip, the persons themselves, the kids in those relationships, and then particularly, what do men and women walk into those relationships with the same mindset or with the same outlook? Which gets really interesting, and we're going to dig into that a little bit. Let me hear what you wanted to say, Carol.
What I was gonna say is, I'm so sorry. The what she said is completely right. That's what people should do. But that's the tricky part. When I was trying to say, when people are not well in their minds, they don't have this, like way of thinking, like, let's sit down, let's talk about it. Like, why am I getting into a marriage that I'm thinking since the beginning is going to be temporary? Why am I doing this? Maybe I need help. This is not okay. So the problem is that I think all of these subjects are still, even at this time, a little taboo. And people think like you shouldn't be depressed, you shouldn't be sad, you shouldn't be feeling all these things because you're gonna get married. You should be just, So people are like jumping this stuff, and then when you are already in the hole, it's like, oh, now how do I get out?
Fair enough. And it gets distracting sometimes when all of these things are happening. We're looking at them, and because we're looking at them, just like you said, we don't necessarily look at our internal hurt, our internal pain, the things that have happened inside me. And so it leads me to the question I wanted to. Well, let me let the ladies answer, and then I come to you on this, because many times we have relationship breakups and it's all the other person's fault. So I want to jump into what, in your previous relationships, what are some things that the other person did wrong, and what are some things that you did wrong, or some healing that you may have needed?
I think communication is definitely key. I think, for example, in my case, I communicate way too much. I think I just say too many things, and sometimes for some people it's difficult to process, and I think for him it was more like he the lack of words. For him it was difficult to communicate, so it was me giving all this stuff and then him trying to like figure out what I was saying, how things were happening, and then trying to give a response. So everything was like, he thinks different than me. Thank God. But
you should think different.
Right? Yes. So he's more organized, and he will like make an Excel page in order to tell me how things should be done. And me, I'm more like, let's leave the day. So for me, it's important to sit down and express myself as much as I think I need to. But if you're with someone that doesn't match that energy, that actually becomes a problem. So I think that was our problem. We never really figured out how to fix that. We just kept on going.
Fair enough. And I want to see if I can drill down a little bit specifically. Is that all right?
Yeah.
And the specifics are, in the relationship, he kept leaving the toilet seat up. He recognized that was a problem, and then you kept kicking the cat. So a specific thing that you I know that I did wrong. This is something that I can work on. Because it sounds like, as you're saying communication, I mean, you're comfortable with your communication, so it doesn't sound like something that you want to fix.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you could say, hey, you know what? This is probably something I should work on
Well,
for yourself?
I think I should prioritize. How you say that in English? Prioritize. Thank you. That my happiness. My happiness. I think this relationship gave me the opportunity to realize that I do not have to be thinking about everyone. It shouldn't be that person first. It should be me. Now, not in a selfish way, right? Because if you're selfish, you shouldn't be in a relationship. But at this, right? But at the same time, you do have to have a percentage of selfishness, like in you, like a little bit, and be like, okay, now it's my time. The thing we were talking before we started, if you like to be alone and you start a relationship, maybe that person needs to understand that sometimes you need to be by yourself in the room. I don't know, look into the roof, who knows? But like that part, I think, just that.
But so, and forgive me if I'm not phrasing it right. When I think about something that I need to work on, I think about, hey, this is where I messed up, and this is what I could do that might help the other person next. So, for instance, if I kept kicking the cat, I should stop kicking cats, right? And this is my gift to the external. So again, me working on me, that's not necessarily for someone else. This is me doing that for me.
What about if I don't think that we actually have to change anything? I just think we didn't match. You know, Ariana, thank you. Next, something like that. Like it just didn't work. We were both good people. We're just not good for each other.
Interesting.
And
I see you wanted to add something.
And if I might jump in there, because that was my answer. It was more about, for me, it was more of not trusting your gut that it was time to say bye. Because these persons weren't bad persons. Neither am I. What we didn't have is that alignment. All right. So, for example, being specific, let's say your life is heading in a particular direction, and I have no intention of going that direction. But let's see if somehow, somewhere, you might change your mind. I'm not changing mine, you're not changing yours, because we're who we are. And then not having the courage to say, hey, you know what, this is just not going where it needs to go. So I think it has more to do with knowing when to say, you know what, this is our choice, and this choice not a God choice, it's a good choice, but not a God choice. So how then do we navigate the separation? So that's one. I'm going to give you another one. Another one is counting yourself as much as the other person. I think so often we get caught up as females in the dream of the male. So we would go to the extent of making sure that all those things are in place and not spending as much time on developing me. So I count and you count, not just you. And when that's not reciprocated, then they go, hold on, what happened to me? But then truth is, you made that choice. So how do we now take accountability as females, as me now, taking accountability? Listen, this is what I expect. This is what I'm going to be. This is the me time part. This is what my goals are as well. So are we working on both goals or just your goals? If we're working on two of yours and two of mine, then we can work this out. But if it's always skewed in your favor, then I'm always going to feel as if something is going wrong. But that's on me because I made that choice. Let's do your goals first. Let's do this first. Okay, and then oops. Yeah, so those are my two specifics.
And it got a lot of interesting color in that, two of your goals, two of mine, and so it begs the question of who's leading the relationship. We're going to come to that. I want to jump to you, Pastor.
Wow, yeah, the fact that you said Pastor, I know you even have to curtail my response. So for me, you have relationships, and then you have, relationships that are godly. Like your relationship is against the background of you being a Christian, and, being like that, then that the Bible and God then would have to inform your decisions. From that background, I would say every relationship there is have a possible red flag.
Yes.
And I don't think people break up because of red flags. I think people break up because of choices. And people is, at the end of the day, is what you can tolerate. But to be specific to the question you asked and to be fair to the panel, for me, I think there wasn't balance. I think we've always grown to two different levels. What I'm trying to say, there wasn't no interdependency within the dyad at the time. And so, I mean, respectfully, I wouldn't say I have a past relationship that I can't take up the phone and say hello, because it always comes to the point, hey, we are not on the same wavelength. Because there's always a struggle for me, being a Christian, fighting against the worldly ideology or inkling of what a relationship should be, as opposed to how I was raised in church.
And that's interesting, because as I'm hearing and I'm listening to the two ladies and you, I'm hearing, I got a strong tinge of independence as the lady spoke, and then you positioned it as interdependence. And I'm wondering at the thought of, are we the same people when we get in relationships? Right? Can two single people have a successful relationship, or do we need to become someone else? Because I heard you say very strongly, no, this is who got in the relationship, but you are not that same person anymore.
If I might clarify,
Yes.
I don't think they're different things. I think we all said the same thing. Just hear me out. If it is that it's going in one direction, that's not interdependence either. So what I mentioned was, it's always in one direction. That's not interdependence. That's independence on one part. And I think my friend here also said something similar. If it is that I did not declare upfront, this is what my expectations are, then there's going to be a unidirectional as well, which is also not interdependence, but two different directions. So I think what we need to zero in on, as you rightly mentioned,
Wait,
though,
one second,
is
one
how do
second.
we come to that common ground?
Wait, before you go on, because again, right there, it sounds like you said it's not interdependence, because you have two different directions.
It sounds confusing.
Yes, because you're right. You can't have two directions in a relationship.
True.
Right? There must be one, which
Right.
means someone has to lead.
And that's where we get confused.
Yes, so help
because
me
here's
to
what we think
understand
that
what
it
you're
means.
thinking here.
It means for some people that we have to be going in your direction, as opposed to us going together. So if only one party is growing, are we growing together?
No,
As my friend here mentioned as well, what he found in his situation was that we were going on two different wavelengths. We need to look at why that is. Is it that one person is growing educationally while the other is not? Is it that one is doing some other things independent of? So what you find happening is the dyad happening instead of the interdependence. So you're two individuals who come together as one. It doesn't mean that one goes to die.
Certainly not. And we're not thinking about death. What I'm thinking of, and I want to come to you, Carol, is do you believe
And love after love, I know.
There you go. Do you believe in love? Right? As I'm thinking of relationships, would you say you're modern or traditional? And I'm using that to set up the question.
Yeah, I said I think I'm modern with a tip of traditional.
Traditional. So in the traditional relationship, usually the man leads.
Yeah.
So if you're traditional, you believe in male leadership. And I'll ask a couple of questions. Do you believe in the man that you're interested in? Would you want him to make more money than you?
Oh, he can do whatever he wants. Yeah. He wants to make more money. Yes, of course.
Can he make less?
Yes.
Okay.
It's okay for him to, how much less?
I mean, if
Is it okay if he's broke and homeless?
I think no homeless. I don't think anybody wants to be homeless or be, in a situation like that. But I think it's more about
Or if it's earning minimum wage.
if we can both make it work. I think that's good enough. What is make it work? Like we can put a roof over our heads. We can buy food.
What if he lives in your house?
Oh, that has happened. That has happened a few times.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, of course it is.
It's okay with you for
Yeah.
him to be
We're-
unemployed.
We're both humans.
Uh-huh.
We both come from families that maybe they're super cool, maybe they're messed up. We all have our luggage to carry. Like if you love somebody, you should be there for that person. And if you have a house and that person needs a house, guess what?
All right, so before we get into love, and I want to come to you too, because I see us talking about this, and we're talking about relationships, and I'm trying to understand or unpack the idea that we're putting in there that says we're equals. And so I'm trying to figure out which direction we need to be rowing in. I heard you say, Rahima, that we need to have two of your goals and two of mine, and I'm wondering how that works in the traditional biblical dynamic when God invites the man to lead.
I'm happy you asked it more clear.
Yes.
So I was going to say I'm not traditional and I'm not modern, I'm biblical.
Okay.
All right? Because when you go back to the original words from Genesis, That's where I like to begin.
Yes.
So you have Eitzer Kenegdo
Uh-huh.
and you have Zakar.
Mm-hmm.
Eitzer Kenegdo, female. Zakar, male. Eitzer Kenegdo, warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Military.
Yes.
Military help. Female.
Yes.
And then you have Zakar, the preeminent one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you take it just on the social side of it, then you miss the significance. Now, the Zakar is the preeminent one for salvation.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, we all need salvation.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the role then of both of them together? Now, if you have a nation
Mm-hmm.
and your military is destabilized, you're at risk.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are both doing your military work
Mm-hmm.
and your administrative work, then united, you are strong.
Mm-hmm.
I think the conversation about equality
Yes.
comes from the world,
From that, yeah.
and we need to leave it outside the church.
Yes.
Because what's happening is that we're taking on this worldly concept and trying to baptize it.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't work. Together, we're stronger. If it is that your military or your administration is down,
Mm-hmm.
then you're both weak. How about we work on the military
Uh-huh.
and the admin?
All right, so help me to understand, because I'm glad you clarified that, because before I thought I was getting some tinge of the world in what you're saying, but you're saying that's not where you are. You're biblical based,
Straight.
and so the military is the man, masculine.
Eitzer Kenegdo is the female.
Mhm. So you're saying the military. So you're saying the military is the female.
I'm not saying it. The Bible is saying.
No, I'm asking you to
So
clarify because I
Eitzer
have another
Kenegdo-
question.
Yes, man.
All right, so for you then, you are laying in bed, right, with your husband. There's a knocking on the outside of their house, and he leans over to you and says, "Baby, I'm scared. Protect us."
So you've gone again to the world.
No, I'm asking you a question.
So I'm taking it back to
No,
the
no.
church. I'm going to answer your question.
So
So the military of the union that God
no,
created.
Wait,
Hold
help
on.
me. Wait, hold on.
Okay,
for me.
go ahead.
I'm gonna help you to follow my lead. Is that all right?
That's
All
okay.
right. So what we're talking about here. Forget church. Forget the world.
Can't forget
You're
it. Can't forget it because it's
temporarily.
it's
You're at home. You're at home. We're gonna go to church on church day. Right now, you're at home. It's in the middle of the night.
And therein lies the problem, though, because we want to keep church in church.
No.
And then the world
We're gonna come
outside.
to that. Follow my
Alright.
lead. Follow my lead. Can you follow my lead?
I'm gonna try.
Okay, good job. So right now we're talking about a specific incident, and sometimes we have to unpack them so that we can see what they're saying. Sometimes we put too many things at once, we can't understand what we're really trying to communicate, and especially as men and women, and we communicate differently, we have to try to do that so that we can get on the same page. So that's what we're trying to do here. And so specifically what we're looking at is, how do you feel in that situation when the man has just said to you he's scared?
So I'm gonna answer you this way.
Yes.
When a country is at war, what happens? Let's talk. When a country is at war, what happens?
Well, I was hoping that you were answering my question, but you're asking me another one.
Socratic
So before-
reasoning. Let's
so-
go.
so
I'm
before-
following your lead.
No. If you're
So
following
the
my lead, let
husband
me help you.
says
Let me help
we're
you.
on
Let me
that
help
top.
you.
Hold on.
Stay with me. Stay with
No.
me.
Hold on.
Rahima,
So
Rahima,
the
I need your help. I need your
You're not
you to
helping
follow
me, though.
No. I'm helping you to follow me.
I'm following you.
Yes.
So I'm gonna transition now to the husband and wife.
So here's what I'm going to help you with.
Okay,
I'm
help
going to
me.
ask you a question. I'm going to invite you to answer the question.
I thought I was.
Yes, but if you're asking me another question, we're going off on a different
And
direction.
then I was answering for you.
No, it's all right. So take a minute. I'm going to come to you for a little bit and see if, with the same question posed to you, what your thoughts are. How do you feel?
I mean, I'll be scared too. So I think we need to man up, both of us, bro, because I will just get scared too. But I don't feel being scared. The emotion of being scared represents weakness.
Okay, so you are okay with protecting your man, is what I'm trying.
Yeah, of course.
And do you think that is useful? Do you think that helps the relationship or hurts it?
Helps.
Helps. All right. So in the biblical dynamic, the man is supposed to bring protection, provision, and leadership. That's what the Bible tells us. Yes? Yes, Pastor?
Yes, sir.
All right. So in that dynamic, and God has given us a dynamic in that is supposed to help us with helping relationships to be successful. And what we're doing in the world is something different. We've said that, hey, in our relationships, that dynamic doesn't work. And so we've leaned more towards equality. And this comes from the world, actually. The equality that says men and women are interchangeable. I don't need a man to provide. I can protect myself. And leadership, we can be co-leaders. That's the current dynamic in the world. Right? And Pastor, I'm going to invite you to help me here and kind of help me. When God invites the leadership, the protection, and the provision, is he inviting the same dynamic that the world is saying, hey, we're equal and equivalent and we're the same?
Interesting. I want to see what you say.
The world's idea and God's idea is never the same.
Never the same.
When God calls a man to be a man, it was not just applicable for the Genesis account, because I am not. I wouldn't even say I am modern or traditional. I would say I'm a man, and whatever the dispensation, I'll be the man that God calls me to be. I will adjust myself in such a way that whatever God requires of me, that's what I'm doing.
Yes.
Because the definition of a man is not defined based on my vocation or my education.
Yes.
My biology alone is saying that. You know, so the world, we cannot use worldly principles to unlock the principles of God. We cannot mix both of them. They are not, they are opposite. We can't even make a comparison. We have to contrast it.
So if I may jump in there.
Sure.
Which is why to limit being a man to defending the whole space. What if the wife is a black belt? What if she knows how to do whatever needs to be done and he doesn't? What is the conflict in that?
Absolutely.
When it
I love
is
that question.
that they are to be working together,
but here's the
not
thing.
independent.
Here's the thing. Statistically, what is the likelihood that the woman is more advanced physically than the man? And that's what we're starting. So I'm glad you introduced biology. The average man compared to the average woman, who'd be stronger?
Well, I mean, that's obvious in certain things because we are built differently.
Yes.
Right? And that doesn't mean that women cannot do construction. But maybe means it will be a little easier for the man that has muscles.
Yes.
Because he's been training his whole life. Oh, maybe she's training too. So the thing is, it's just more about like logic, common sense. It's like there are certain things that are going to be different because yes, but that doesn't mean just because you're different you cannot do the same stuff. I did grow up with that way of thinking. I
think we are all over the place with this conversation. I think it's time for us to address and have a pragmatic approach to the conversation. I am not saying that a woman cannot help, but I will not feel good in myself laying in my bed when my wife calls for my help, that somebody is knocking on the door. It is innate in me to go and push down that door and protect my family. I cannot feel good in myself asking my wife.
But that's not because you're a man. That's because that's your personality.
Not just my personality. Who I am innately enhances my personality.
Yes. And here's the thing, and this is where this gets really, really interesting. And I love these conversations because here it is. We're talking about, and we can talk practically, or we can talk in theory. And in theory, we can talk about, yes, certainly. I mean, I know I can't beat Ronda Rousey. She is one of the strongest wrestlers out there. She's superhuman, right? So the average man can't take her on, but she is also an anomaly. The average woman is not Ronda Rousey.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And so in the same way, a boy goes through puberty and a girl goes through puberty. They both get different gifts. A boy wakes up in the morning and he's going, oh no, I got muscles. My chest is bigger. My biceps are bigger, right? A woman gets hips and boobs.
If you're lucky.
I love that. If you're lucky, right? But most women get something at least, right? And those things are designed for different reasons.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Boobs, breasts are not designed for protection. They're designed for...
They protect the children. And if you're best with a mother who just had a child, I'm sorry for you.
I do think that if you guys were in the process of getting pregnant and have kids, you will die. I do think that.
Well, and this is where we have to introduce similarities and differences.
Yes.
I also want to stick a point that when Carol made a point that a woman can, mix concrete, is because we were made from the same fabric. But what I am saying predominantly, the man was made to mix concrete. Doesn't mean that you can't help.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
if you look in the original context when God created man and took woman from my side, my rib, these response, it appears before sin, there were clear roles
Yes.
that nobody argued about.
Yes.
But after sin, that's where we got the confusion. But we have to look at the original, the blueprint.
And I'll take that a
Yeah.
step further in
Yeah,
that
I
even
wanna- thank
after
you.
sin, up until recent history, we didn't debate these things. Up until recent history, you had a lot more men.
I want to add something.
Go ahead.
When Adam and Eve were placed in the garden,
Yes.
they were doing the same thing.
Well, Adam was placed.
You sure
Eve
about
came
that?
from Adam's
You
side.
sure about that? Because we can jump to Genesis 2 right
yes,
now.
yes.
Huh?
All right, so if we start there.
Yes.
Then, because I wanted to add this earlier, because if it is, I'm going back to the knock on the door, just the scared. What if you both say you're both scared and you don't go out there, you have a plan that you both devise to say that we're going to do something else? That's what I'm talking
But that's
about.
different from
That's
the
what I'm
original point.
what I'm
Yes.
getting at is sometimes we get caught up in the who wins or who is the whatever, that we miss the opportunity to use our combined effort.
Remo,
And
what-
intelligent.
One second. And here's the thing.
Through you, Mr. Chair, may I?
Yes, sir.
You're not answering the question, and you're philosophizing the question. The question is, would you feel comfortable? Yes, or
that's the
no?
basic
I
question.
would not be
If-
comfortable with either of us going out there. We don't know what the person out there has.
No.
And I'd love to have that
pause.
conversation
Wait, but-
to say, don't go.
Why not? The woman in
so
you will
here's the
say
thing.
not
Here's
to
the
go.
thing. Here's the thing. Before we even get out there, what we're trying to lean into, and sometimes this part for some reason gets complicated and gets tricky, right? Let me tell you. So if I'm laying in the bed beside her and she tells me that she's scared, there's something interesting that happens, right? That her communicating to me that she's scared helps me, even if I was scared too, to feel stronger. Because a man naturally has a protective instinct over what is his.
Was designed that
he's
way.
He's designed to protect her. He's designed to protect his family.
She
right?
was also designed to want to be
Yes,
protected.
and so she was also designed to want to be protected. I see your hand. Let me finish the thought, right? So when she does that, they're both fulfilling their purpose, which means, guess what? Even if I didn't feel up to the task, I must now find the comfort, confidence, and whatever I need to do to be up to the task. And I'll go all the way back to the beginning of time, before we invented houses, computers, and all those things, right? If you're pregnant and you're laying inside the cave, we haven't built houses yet. You are now doing what you were designed to do, bringing our family to term, giving our family, let's use your word, safety. No, you can't get up out there and go fight bears, but you need food. Which means even though bears and tigers and all those things are outside the cave, whatever I'm feeling, I need to do what? I need to bring that into subjection. I need to go find food. So I need to provide for you. Yes? Yes? Would you agree with that thought? Would you agree with that thought?
I don't.
If we go there,
Yes.
what we're saying is that when it is that women do these things for themselves, they are male.
Yes. We're
So,
going to come to
a
that.
pregnant woman who's
Yes.
left by whichever person it is, who has to then find food, protect,
Is leaning into her masculinity, yes.
which is why I began by saying earlier, it's a social construct. So I
Mm,
personally,
it's a
I
social
don't.
perspective.
You don't believe
accept
that
it.
she's
No,
leaning
no,
into
no,
her
no.
masculinity. Okay,
because
no problem.
the protection that she
Yes.
has for her child, her unborn child, kicks in. And earlier you mentioned about being built for protection.
Yes.
Don't mess with a pregnant woman with her child, or a woman who just gave birth.
While we say that, and it sounds nice to say, a woman who just gave birth, she's still weak for the next 6 weeks or whatnot. So you may think, and her by herself cannot take on the average man. I'll tell you that.
If she has no other help,
No,
she will.
statistically, just on numbers, just on biology, she can't.
But not only that.
No, one second, Pastor. 1 second. Because sometimes we say these things and they sound nice to say culturally. Yeah, man, don't mess with a woman and she... Listen.
All right,
listen,
so let me
the
back to my
average-
Jamaican experience.
Hold
So
on,
I
before
know
you go, let me
women
finish the thought.
personally.
Let me
Hold on,
finish
hold
the-
on.
just
I know
invite
women
Let me
personally
help you, let
who
me
have
help you.
done it
Again.
with domestic violence as a factor as well.
So
That's
but
trauma.
here's the thing.
And
Here's
I'm
the thing.
saying that she's able to. So I'm not guessing. I'm telling you, I've seen it happen.
Anecdotally, it sounds good again.
No,
but
I have
here's-
actual evidence of it. No anecdotes.
But your evidence would be anecdotal if it's a person happened, unless it's statistical, it's anecdotal. Right? So
If I knew we were talking about this, I'd bring my figures. I didn't know, so I didn't bring them. But there are figures.
So on average, the average man is stronger and bigger than
No
the average
debate.
woman. And so the average man can overpower the average woman. And so that was actually a part of the design evolutionary theory. I said, hey, and I'm not talking about Big Bang Theory. I'm talking about how we have evolved as human beings in terms of certain things that are built into us, into our biology. A woman feels the need to be protected because left by herself, she sees these 3 men out the road. They're going to scare her because she understands that physically they can overpower her. So, throughout history, women have sought to find strong men to offer them the protection away from, and I know you wanted to share some, offer them the protection from the man who may want to do them harm.
Yeah.
I think that way of thinking that you have
Yes.
is very harsh on men.
Yes.
And that's why the statistics of
Statistics,
suicide
yes.
and men is higher than women because this thought of you are the one who has to go out there and fight the lions and the tigers and the bears while you are in there like giving birth, which is a lot of work as well. It pushes the men to have this responsibility that yes, you have it, but you're not by yourself. Marriage is about helping each other, about being
Thank you.
together, right?
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah,
I see it.
but I still feel like we're all over the place. I have 3 things to say. The conversation is leaving me, but I'm still following. We have to dichotomize women being protective when they are pregnant as opposed to women being predominantly protective. Number 1. Number 2, we have to also consider, I wouldn't say women will protect themselves when 3 men are there to hurt them. Some women will run. But some women, based on their cultural background and based on how they were raised, will defend themselves. And we have to put some structure in the conversation. Are we saying that women are predominantly protectors?
We never began there. What we're talking about, your question was originally about marriage, you know. So I hope we haven't forgotten that part of the conversation. We're talking about in context of marriage.
Yes.
So I'm still talking about the interdependence.
Yeah.
No, but I
Which
asked
is
the
where we
question-
went.
I asked the question on the background that there was confusion as opposed to who is a protector in the home. We must bring it to light that the man is a protector.
So for
and there's no
clarity-
debate on that.
No debate. So I'm saying for clarity of what
Yes.
I was saying,
Uh-huh.
that's where I went. Because
Yes.
I'm still talking about the interdependence as
Yes.
opposed to the independence of either party. So in context of marriage, in context of both persons being together, there is no dichotomy of who is, because both of you are now responsible for the safety. Both of
I'm
you.
not taking my wife into a war.
I'm not saying you're going into
I'm
the
dying
war.
for my
I'm
wife in
saying
the battle.
the responsibility is. No, actually, who does the what? That's to be decided. Right?
To be
So
decided by whom?
The
if
man decides
if
that.
your partners, your partners.
And this is where this
So
conversation.
I don't want my husband to kill off himself. If
Who was
there,
the
if there
final
are 10
say?
men out
Who
there,
was the final say in the
the man
relationship?
has the final say in the relationship. However, as I said before, what we struggle with is that interdependence. If it is that you go outside, for example, in that scenario, and there are people out there with machine guns, you think
Yes.
a wife wants her husband to go to that door?
You think the husband wants his wife to go through that door?
None of them should go through the door.
None of them should go through the door.
And that's
It's
why
not a
I
matter
see-
of going
wait,
through the door,
I
it's a
wanna-
matter of blocking the door.
Yes.
That they doesn't come in.
All
So
right.
I see your face. Cal.
I'm trying to translate everything before
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I'm just trying to understand because. So this is interesting. I didn't know you guys were Christians, and so this kind of brings a little spice to the conversation
Yes.
because I do have knowledge about it. I am not a Christian, and the main reason why I say it is because I don't like to shame God. So like I just I'm a daughter of a pastor. So I grew up in church, and everything that you guys are saying, like I know it head to toe. It's just there were certain things that I always sit down with my dad and I was like, I'm sorry, I love you, and I know you love Jesus, and I love that you love him, but there's certain things that I just don't agree with. Like, and it's a little hard for him to understand because it's the Bible, right?
Yes.
So you shouldn't say that. But for me, that part of man has to do this and women are made to do this, that book that is the Bible, and I respect it all, was written a long time ago, and in the perspective of the people who translated from Hebrew. So imagine like all the translation, everything that could be lost on translation and stuff. I think it has to be common sense, right? Try to be clear about the reality of things So, for example, if in Costa Rica, I'm laying in my bed with my husband and somebody's not even knocking the door, because knocking the door will be like, hey, just look in the window. More like, I don't know, you hear something on the roof or like something that will scare you. You will definitely, both of you, if you love each other and you have common sense, call 911 and get ready. You're not going to send one of us to do anything because it's a third world country and you're going to get robbed and killed. Mm-hmm. So it also has to be with the culture and the way of thinking, the way they raise you. Because, for example, that you said, I respect that a lot and it sounds beautiful. That he said, like, I'm not going to send my wife to war. Like, I'm going to go and die for my wife. That sounds like Wakanda. I love it. Like, let's go and fight it. Like, I love it. But in reality, if you love your wife, you're not going to go and die. Your wife needs you. So it's more about, like, this, I don't know, balance.
And I see you, and that's and again, what I'm trying to unpack here is where we are versus where we were invited to be. And invited to be using the biblical standard as the invitation. Hey, I'm gonna design this space. This is what this space looks like. And then, thank you very much. Just got the cue from my PA. We're running out of time.
You guys are talking too much. I've heard that before.
I think she said something. Well, she responded to something that I said, which I am not refuting, but just want to defend that. Perennially, men and women think differently.
Yes.
Thank God.
So naturally, she would want, I don't want my husband to go up there. But when trouble is at that door, I don't have time to think, what am I going to do? I have to do something. And I'm saying, I am made from that type of fabric. Watch this. If you go, I cannot not use Adam and Eve because they were the standard of humanity. They never had a umbilical cord. And I would break that down in another episode. I'm saying all of that to say that Adam didn't sin with his wife because he was uncertain of the laws. Neither he was hungry.
Yes.
But why?
Choice.
And so anytime you find a man doing foolishness or crazy stuff for his wife, that's the Adam's love.
Yes.
But we'll break that down another episode.
What I'd like to just add to what was said before is that the Bible is consistent in terms of what is required of the male versus the female.
Yes.
The Bible clearly says that the man is supposed to nourish and cherish, and the wife is supposed to respect. So that's not there's no debate there.
True.
I think what we have a challenge with is how we make that operational in this day and age. And I think that's where...
Be specific.
And let's zero in on that, because if we could use the time that we have to just kind of zero in on that aspect, how do we make that, loved how you phrased it, how do we make that applicable today, 2023, December?
And that's where the commission comes in. So when we look at, okay, what does that look like for you? Nourish and cherish for the female, for the male. Let's talk that through. And what does that respect look like for the male and the female right here, right now? And once that is clear, then you have at least a blueprint to start working on something. Unless you do that, then you're not going anywhere.
So in order for us to understand that, then one of the key pillars is going to be women have to be able to understand the different perspective that a man holds so that they can respect it. And a man needs to understand the different perspective that a woman holds so he can respect that, so he can lean into that and allow her to be feminine. And here's the thing. What I find, what the statistics point to, is that throughout history, men have had to learn and understand what women want. That has been the job, because you are the gatekeepers. Before he even gets your phone number, he has to present some amount of attraction. So like you said, if he looks like a homeless bum, you he can't stop you, right? He can't ask you for your number. So if
he can.
He can do whatever he wants, but you're not going to see it. Right?
Doesn't mean he's going to get it.
Right? And so men have had to put themselves together and then present themselves to you and ask you for a first date or ask you for whatever it is as the best man in the world. And he can only do that if he has an appreciation of what you want. Because he can feel, yeah, man, whatever I bring to the table, she should just accept. You're like, no, bro, that's not going to happen. Like you said, standards, right? But what I find is that women don't necessarily have the same challenge.
Oh, we do.
Wait. Let me finish the thought before you disagree with me. and this is exactly where that lives. As soon as the man says something that is divergent, is different from the thought that you're having, no, you're wrong. But here's the thing. When a woman goes through puberty, well, she got those tools, she got her breast, she got her butt, and she starts looking fine and nice and handy, right? Every day, I imagine you get approached by multiple men inviting, yeah, baby, I want to have sex with you, whatever it is. You're getting those approaches. and you've learned to read facial expressions, read body language, read those interactions to go, hey, I need to let him down because I can't just take every man that present themselves to me, but I need to let him down in a way that makes sure that he doesn't react to me violently or negatively. That's a skill that women have learned over time. Conversely, most men, they don't get approached like that. They don't have that interaction unless he builds up the courage to go and talk to a young girl and then she rejects him. He doesn't have that he doesn't develop that skill, that level of interaction where he learns how to navigate male-female dynamics.
I'll let you go first.
So you have an upper hand.
Do you want to go first?
It's not like disagreeing with what you're saying. It's just that I think that's your perspective. Because if we bring a different man right now, let's say a man that goes to the gym and looks flying and everywhere he goes, like every girl like woo, I'm telling you, I know I have stories that I've seen, no anecdotes of guys that need to like take the girls out, and DMs are going crazy as well.
And statistically, they're about 15% of men. Most men don't live in that space. Most men don't live in that. Statistically, I think it's 15% of men even have a six-pack. So most men do not live in that space.
Are you throwing shades?
No, and I get it. I get the numbers. I get the numbers. The thing.
So the average man is not living the kind of life where he's pushing girls off at the side. He's not. As a matter of fact, and it's about 30% depending on where. 30% of men don't even get approached at all. They put them in a category and call them incels. They haven't had sex or even interactions with females, so they're not holding. But a woman lives a different life. She literally rejects advances regularly, where men don't even see, let alone have that interaction.
I'm out of the conversation. But the men went and go to the gym to pump up the muscles.
There you go.
To work on himself. Because he wants, when he walk outside,
he can get that kind of attraction from women. But most men can't even hack it. Most men, see, so a man has to, and most men have to go to the gym, pump iron, do all the things when you just got your breasts and your butt by default.
I'm happy that so it's not just me. One of the things that we women contend with is men speaking for us. So men tell us that we only speak to men who do that. That's one, and that's not true. Men tell us, and want us to accept it, that we don't make advances. Not true.
Have you ever advanced?
Relax. So what I'm trying to say is this: there are a number of things in the dynamic. For example, I'm going back to you talk about the constructs. Men also want to tell women what feminine looks like. Let's say, for example, I grew up with brothers, and so my mannerisms are like my brother because that's my socialization. Then you want to tell me that's not feminine? Who says?
You just said. Because you are looking like your brothers.
Hold on. So follow me now.
Yes.
So they're telling you that you are like them. What's the difficulty?
No. You're the one who started it. You said you grew up with your brothers, and so you look like them. So if I look like a sheep, I'm presenting sheep characteristics.
All right. So if I don't have breasts, I don't have a butt, I don't have hips, I'm not female?
No, we're not talking about female. We're not getting into the gender
I'm talking about female.
So
but remember I said...
One second. Again, so that we don't go off in what we're talking about is masculine and femininity. So not male and female. That's a whole other conversation that brings in chaos.
So what I'm adding
and to help you, Sister Rahima.
Yes.
If you grew up with your brothers looking like a guy, talking like a guy, when you become an adult, it's your responsibility to divert.
Speaking for me again, what if I don't want to? Does that make me
less of a woman?
Why does that make me less of a woman?
No.
We're back to
again.
Here's the thing.
You say you're looking like your brother. Do you think I'm... No,
wait, let's bring it together. Let's bring it together.
So who says you need to be attracted to this person?
No, I'm just saying that for me...
Okay. All right. I think where we can bring it back to is, and maybe you can help me, is... Where I was trying to go with this is men have had to try to understand what women want so they can present that to them.
Oh my God! Right now, I swear to God, I wish I was a man because everything sounds so much easier for you guys. It's like
that we had to go to the gym.
No, my love, it's you guys are very complicated as well.
No.
Yes.
simple.
Maybe you're
You're not
simple.
here, you're not here,
Maybe
that's all.
maybe you perceive yourself as a simple man, but men are not simple. Men also have a big luggage that you have to work with them too. Like it's not as easy as you think. They also have traumas. They also have a lot of things that they have to go through. It's not
Absolutely.
It's not easy to talk to them neither. It's not easy to. I have men that don't want to be with me,
No, but
and that is also. I mean, it's just it's
But you're saying
difficult.
we have trauma, then you say we are simple. So you have to make up your mind.
No. What I'm saying is that men, no, him. I'm being specific with him.
Yes.
Like I say, that maybe he perceives himself as a simple man, but I don't think you guys are simple, and I don't think every woman is as difficult.
You don't think that? You don't think that's so?
No, at all. Well, at least the men that have been in my life are not simple at all. I wish.
I'm wondering here is what I'm wondering here again is if you approach a man and believe that he's thinking like you, then he's going to seem complicated if your thoughts are complicated.
He's never gonna think like me, and he's never gonna think like me.
And so that's what I'm trying to get to. So what I'm trying to get to is,
But that doesn't mean I'm more difficult than him.
and you know, we're not because again we're not even going into the blame yet. What we're trying to just understand is, do we? we're not trying to look at whose fault it is. We're just trying to be able to appreciate that we have a different starting point. I started out by saying, hey, men, just in terms of the communication, men have less interaction with the opposite sex than women have with males. Men have to build up confidence and they have to work through the idea of rejection because in order to when a guy
But we too.
Really?
We get rejected. Yes. What are you
think
talking
get
about?
rejected
Look at
as
his
much
face.
Not as much, but we do get rejected,
Come
and also
on.
and they also break our hearts. It's also like it's the same road,
okay,
different weather, but same road.
You and me walking through the day, right? 10 guys are gonna come checking on you.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna like 9 of them.
Exactly. You're going to reject 9. So you're saying you just by your words.
But then I'm gonna go and walk to the same road, and I'm gonna see maybe 5 of them, and maybe the one that I won, it's not gonna like me, and that has happened.
But did you? But what? Think about what you just said. You just rejected 10 guys.
No,
9
I
guys,
didn't
9.
reject them. I just didn't like them. They weren't brave
This is
enough to approach
complicated.
me.
This is
They weren't
complicated.
brave enough to approach me and talk to me and get to the phase where I reject them. That's a man problem, their problem, but in a specific man, no in general.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
So here's that. So you said lovely. He wasn't brave enough to come to you and talk to you, which means he had to overcome the hurdle of.
Like I will overcome the love too if I like someone and I have to go through it. It makes me embarrassed too if I like a man and I want to talk to him.
But for him, it's not an if. If he does not approach a woman,
You miss the opportunity.
He will get.
exactly.
Ah,
He doesn't
got you,
get. He
got
doesn't
you,
get any
doesn't get
airplay at all.
anything.
You can just go. Yes or no. You have that choice. He doesn't have the choice. If he doesn't get up and do something, nothing happens.
So you think we have more options just because we're women?
Absolutely, that's the whole
But
point.
the stats say that there are more women than men.
Huh?
The stats worldwide say there are more women than men. So how do you get those maths to equate to what's happening globally?
Say again.
You heard me, man. There are more males. We have a bigger male prison here than female prison.
But that doesn't
in the
actually
classrooms,
translate to more men than women.
and that's what I'm saying globally. Look at the stats, because I know you're a stats man. So if that is the case, then it should be the reverse.
What do you mean? Unpack what you just said.
All right. So just I'm sorry to go to technical. XXXY. Chromosomes of male and female. So the potential to have more females are there because you have more X's in the equation, right? So biologically and therefore numbers wise, population wise, we're going to end up with those numbers being the case. So if you're saying that, then they don't correspond.
Can you simplify your?
Statistically,
women-
as of
women's
2021, as of 2021, it was about roughly 100 males to 101 males to 100 females.
Since which year?
2020.
Okay, fair
Yes.
enough. So they're not catching up.
Yes.
No problem. Something.
Yeah,
is going on.
we've overcome
No
the
problem.
wars that took away all the men.
Fair
and so
enough. But historically, there are more females than men.
because men would go and die in wars.
Whatever the reason. So statistically, it wouldn't be working out that way. So and depending on where you are, population here, wherever.
Wait, I'm trying
When
to
you-
understand what you're going at statistically.
I'm going to
wouldn't
get
work
there.
out.
So when you take
Go
out those who are in prison,
Yes.
When you take out those who have gone to war and
Yes,
died.
and died.
That's a lot, by the way.
Right. What are you left with?
You're left with what we have left. I'm trying to follow you.
So the population of male, go church, males to female, outnumbered.
Yes.
Workplace, male to female, outnumbered.
Yes.
Classroom,
Yes.
outnumbered.
Yes.
So where do these women find these more men?
Excellent point. Excellent question.
I don't think that's what we're arguing.
No.
Let
We're
me go
talking
with her.
about the
Where do women find more men? So even on the street, in dating apps, the dating apps will tell you that a woman will swipe right 5% of the time, while a man will swipe right over 80% of the time, right? So what it points to is, even in a situation where there's less men than women, women are still more selective. Women are still going to reject more men because they're still going to get more advances. If I approach 10 women, that means I just got rejected by 10 women. You're not approaching 10 men.
That's a choice issue, though.
No. But we already established that if I don't do something, nothing's going to happen. If I don't come and ask you for your number, you're just going to move on down the road. Unless you get to that gym bro that looks like a Chad.
No.
And he's
The choice is, to say that it's a choice, you're being deductive.
Yes.
We are
Reductive,
saying
yeah.
there are reasons contributing to why if I don't do it now, I won't get
It
you.
won't happen.
But remember, we also began by saying, well, I said that you have to figure out those who are serious and those who are playing.
No, but
So many of those who are just swiping
yes.
are just swiping for the sake of swiping.
They want hookup,
so
right?
it's not because the woman wants to reject, but you can tell over time with experience that
Do you have the stats
this
to back what you just
person,
said?
hold on, man. He said we have the skills. We're going to work with him on that one.
Yes.
So we have the skills. He said this one is joking
Well, that's
because
an
I
assumption
know,
on the
because I
masculinity
know, hold
community.
on, because I know that he swiped all of my friends in the office. So I know because we talk, right? So you swiped all my friends in the office. So you're gambling, you're playing Russian roulette, that's fine. So you get no because we know, right? So we have to be more selective because, as I said at the beginning,
Yes.
some people enter the space for jokes,
And I'm not disagreeing with you. A woman needs to be selective.
which
because
puts the pressure on the woman again to protect because we don't want to be traumatized
no,
and then have all that to do to get into a new relationship.
I don't. The whole trauma and all that. Let's put that aside for a second and get to biologically. A woman has to be more selective because you can have. If you're having a child, you can only have one per year, while a man can go around and spray seed and have like 1 million children, depending on how strong his energy is, right?
Yeah.
So you do have to be more. 1 second. You do have to be a little bit more selective. No, not a little bit more. You do need to be more selective because again, the converse is you're running around with 2,000 men. I mean, that's not going to translate into.
And even before
Right.
that, it's just too much pressure.
Right? So a woman needs to be selective. But the other side to that is just being able to, and this is what I'm trying to really come to, appreciate what a man has to do. That's what we're really trying to get to. Before. And every time, and this is the challenge. So every time a man tries to present the masculine side, a woman tries to counter that. But it's the other woman's side as well. I started out by saying a man had to learn to understand a woman before he made the approach. So let's take for granted for a second that he understands what you're doing already. Because if he didn't do that, he couldn't present you with anything at all.
Right.
So let's take that for granted. So once you take that for granted, then we don't need to hijack the conversation when he's trying to present his side. And this, I think, is the main challenge. Do you understand what a man actually wants, what a man is actually experiencing? So when you say, for instance, using your example, when you say, I don't want him to go out there and die, you in your head think that you're helping him, but he's not seeing that as help.
Right.
Right? I had a conversation with a friend of mine where he was sitting with a girl, they're in danger, and he had to do something before he could address the issue. He took her, put her into safety, and then went and addressed the issue. And this was significant because as long as you are there, his attention is now divided. He's thinking about protecting you, and his attention is not focused on addressing the issue at hand. So while you think that, hey, both of us going out there because we're a team, we can work together, no. That becomes a liability for a man because now he has to be protecting, which means he's more at risk for attack.
That depends on the woman. If you have a useless woman next to you, maybe. Maybe. I'm sorry, but that depends on the woman. No, that's my opinion. Of course,
Yes.
everyone thinks I'm telling. I just think everyone has their own abilities.
Ukraine.
And so whether she's competent or not, what we're looking at here is what his thought process is. So even if she's competent, because he is thinking about her, his attention is divided. That's what we're looking at. So he may be competent and she may be able to throw up some hands in the fight, but again his attention is divided. That's what we're looking at.
And,
what is happening for the man.
And I'm leaning with you there,
Yes.
because in the biblical account, Jesus did what he did because the difference is that he communicated.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I think that's
Are you
where I
saying
want
we
us
don't
to
communicate?
that's where I want us to go back to that point
Yes.
where at the beginning you declare what it is. What does Nourish and
Yes.
Church look like for you? What does respect look like for both of us? So we
Yes.
need to discuss that at the beginning, because otherwise we're going to forever be having that conversation and it will never end, and it will end up God knows where. So if we understand, as you said, the male dynamic
Yes.
and the female dynamic, independent of the social construct and what the definitions are from whoever is putting them out, then as two individuals, because another thing that we do in relationships is that we tend to use everybody else's example instead of the uniqueness of this particular union. So in this particular union, this is who I am. This is what respect looks like for me. In this specific relationship, this is what Nourish and Cherish look like for me. We have the love languages.
Yes.
All right. So it's not to be borrowed from anybody else. It's not to be
But there are
bought
some
from
women
anybody
trait and
else.
some men trait that doesn't change.
Even so.
So even though you have
each-
uniqueness, there are some predominant traits that does not change.
And none of us can pre-decide what those traits are.
Yeah, man, I
Because
can
the
decide
person
one.
might
You're gonna
very
have
well.
you're gonna have the children.
You're gonna be emotional.
Yes.
And there are some men who are so emotional, you see.
We're not saying that.
So
that
in
doesn't
this,
exist.
which is why I'm going to unique. In this unique dyad, there will be individual traits from both sides, and what that
course.
party needs to do is to together talk through what does the dynamic look like for us.
Yes.
Not for the person next door,
And
for us.
I'm glad that you've said that and positioned that here, because as we wrap up, one of the things that comes to mind is understanding what is required to accomplish the job, right? And so we'll go to school. Both of you went to school. You studied communication. You went to school. You're working on your master's and going to PhD. You're working on your plans to do your PhD as well. And so you've thought about a particular job, and you've thought about qualifying yourself for that job, right? One of the things I think we neglect to appreciate is that husband or wife, that's also a job. And you can't just show up at your job and go, hey, I haven't gone to school, I haven't studied, I haven't learned anything.
Give me the job.
Give me the job. Yes? Right? Whatever I've done in my life, that should prepare me. I'll just learn on the job. But we seem to approach relationship with that, and we find ourselves in the situation where things start going south or going a different direction. We go, hey, I was planning to do this for the long haul, but we're not complementing each other. Right? We're not connecting with each other. But here's the question. The root question to that is, am I being the wife for the relationship? Am I being the husband? And part of that challenge is, in 2023, we've told men that they don't need to be men. And we're telling women that they can be men. We're telling women that, hey, you can protect yourself, you can fight, you can do all of those things because you're just as strong as a man.
You don't need a man.
Who
You
are
don't
you
need a man.
listening to though? You say we who, and who listens to the we?
See, a lot of people, whether we recognize it or not, because we live in the world, television, 68% of the dollars are spent by women. And so television markets to women. Right? We understand how that works economically. So when you look at the TV, you look at advertising, that's how it's positioned. So when you look at movies that are made, they're going to be positioned in a particular way. And even if you don't, hey, I'm not going to go watch Barbie because I don't believe in that, but guess what? You saw the commercials.
You know what's
Your
interesting? too?
children are watching the commercials. And so we're all being fed a steady diet of a particular mindset, whether we want to agree with it or not. Whether you're in the church or outside the church, you're being told something.
I don't think the world society has the ability to have grace. I think it goes black or white. There's no balance, because I'm not against the idea of women who cannot find a man, find a way to have their stuff done without it. But I'm also, not disagreeing with the fact that if you want a man that's with you and protect you and help you, that's bad. Like, I think both things are okay.
Yes.
I just think the way social media shoots the information nowadays, it's very early. So their brains are, they're kids, and their brains are not coupling with that information correctly. and it's being managed weird.
If I may say something in this honorable house, as you made mention of social media and production, it does bring back my mind to the whole porn industry, where that is more supported predominantly by men.
Yes.
And it goes back to the confidence level, because had that guy had confidence, then maybe, just maybe, he wouldn't have been a porn addict. So what we're saying, or what I am saying, women rise because men fail.
Yes.
So had we weren't failing,
Yes.
we wouldn't be having this
That's right.
conversation.
And part of the failure is because we're working against each other.
There we go.
And,
True.
and that's where I'd like us to end. I'll just throw that in there at the end so that we don't miss it. When we work together, we're better together.
Yes.
So this whole idea of competing for preeminence, there's no competition. The word already says who is preeminent. The word already says who is whatever they are. So if we stop fighting
Just
and
for,
start
just for
looking
clarity
at what
in this modern day, could you just
So
big?
So no, wait, I like that, and I'm gonna give you a chance
I'm
to
sorry,
give
Uncle
us
Rob.
our final thoughts, because that's a nice place for us to be. The goal is for us to figure out how to be on the same page. The goal is for us to figure out how to be on the same team, so that
Exactly.
relationships can't work.
And each one with their own things. Like you have your responsibilities and your thing, and I have mine, and we just complement each other and make it
Compliment.
work.
So final thoughts. Let's use that for final thoughts. What are your final thoughts on what we've talked about today, and how do you see relationships working and having success in 2023? Because right now the statistics are pointing to women under 30 are getting to, in 2020, women under 30 are getting to the place where, for the first time in history, you have more single women over 30 without children than any time in history, which means women are going towards the direction where they're not getting in relationships and they're not having children. And whatever's brought us about, that's where we are.
Yeah.
So
I think relationships are hard. I think when you get into a relationship, you have to be ready to work really hard, and not a lot of people are aware or prepared for that. So that's not going to change. I think this thing about being independent and doing all of that, it's definitely going to change the world. It's been changing it, and it's just, I don't think it's going to stop. I think it's just going to keep on going. It's just the way it is. If my dad was alive, he will definitely be like, this is Earth, and it's just the way things happen. And I mean, if you're with God and you try to like make it work for yourself, maybe you can share that with other people and try to spread that. But otherwise, it's just, I think people need to
we're
get
all
healed.
just going to hell in a handbasket.
I think we're just exactly this thing. We're just waiting for God to come and get us, take us out.
Astra is coming.
So I'd say go back to the biblical account
Yes.
and stop listening to the wrong voices. Come out of her, my people. I think for too long, even the church has been listening to the voices outside, and I think it's time we stop. In Christ, there's no division. Neither male nor female, neither bond nor free. We're one in Christ. And if we understand that oneness that was intended for mankind, then we really wouldn't be having half of this conversation. So if you're going to be doing relationship, it's about getting to that point where you understand the oneness that Christ had in mind for us as male and female and for his church, and stop listening to everybody else, because too much of what we know as facts are informed by the world. And when you come to the conversation, it is so hard to have the biblical one, because there's so many thoughts from the outside, and so that gets lost and swept under the rug because we're still in Babylon. Come out of her, my people.
Come out of her, my people.
I would say it takes a miracle for anybody in a relationship, more specifically a man and a woman, to mutually coexist without God's intervention. In a perfect world, they had problems. What do you think will happen in a world that is messed up? And so I think a lot of people approach relationship with the ideology that I will find myself while I'm in this relationship. And that's a challenge, because if you haven't found yourself, if you don't know who you are, if you don't know what your values are, what do you believe in and what you're standing for, then chances are you'll be lost in the relationship. And that is why sometimes we have unequal yoke, not necessarily because of culture, but because people don't understand themselves. So let us spend the time, men, to not just think about the the financial clock and women think about the biological clock. Let's think about the value and the ideologies and everything that surrounds a man and a woman and coming together, because together we are stronger.
Together we are stronger. As men, we're invited to be, we're invited to pursue. Just like we've talked about finding the right job, you're invited to qualify yourself for that job. And as men, we're invited to not just grow up, go through puberty, and then get some muscles, and then we think that we're men. No, we're invited to do a particular thing. For a woman to feel feminine around you, you are invited to qualify yourself as a man. And that means making sure that she can feel protected around you. Because if she doesn't feel protected, then she can't trust you with that protection. If she doesn't feel provided for, then she won't feel the need to allow you to provide. If she doesn't feel the need that you are the leader that she's going to allow herself to trust completely, then she can't allow you to lead. And so as men, the first invitation is for us to be the best version of ourselves before we even consider asking her for her number. And once we can do that, then we can present her with an option that is trustworthy, that she can allow herself to be fully feminine. Because the gift that a man gives a woman is to allow her to be feminine in his masculinity. With that, I'm Robert Lynch. This has been The Wrecking Trade, a great conversation with a wonderful panel. Thank you all of it. Would you, any of you like to share any of your socials to allow persons to contact you? I know that you're an artist, so maybe someone wants to be able to connect with you to come and sing a song for them. Or
Yes, of course. I'm the lead singer for the mariachi and Mariachi Cayman. We have our page literally is a Mariachi Cayman. So if you guys want to hit me up there, I'll be there for sure.
Right. And as a senior probation officer, if you need any help with any of these things that are underlying what is preventing you from being the best version of yourself, feel free to come to us. We are on Mary Street, and we will see what we can do to assist you with that.
And maybe you just need some prayer to work it out. Just check Flashpoint, and I'm right here.
I'm Robert Lynch. This has been The Wrecking Trade. Remember to hit that like button. Remember to subscribe. Peace.
Amen.
The absence of fathers in the home. Join the conversation as we help men find their place in the modern world. Through engaging interviews with experts and members of the community, we provide a clear picture of what healthy masculinity looks like as an example for boys and girls. Our mission is to provide a voice for men, to help them navigate the challenges that they face and provide hope for a brighter future. So tune in and join the conversation on The Wrecking Trade. Together, we can make a difference in the lives of men and boys in the Cayman Islands.